All right, boys and girls, it's me, Blind Spiral, here with Chase for our super top secret interview to discuss what's going on with his team, the league, and all the things. And we were talking a bit beforehand, but you just had a nice long a month off of everything, and now it's back to fantasy football time. How's the off season been for you overall?
It's been good. It's been fun to make a pretty big kind of change in the direction that I'm going.
Yeah,
Uh, Certainly, the draft was a lot of fun. Getting to click a lot of new players.
click draft
Uh,
just a lot. Yeah,
yeah. That was a very busy few days.
yeah.
A fun few days. Yeah.
Is this? I mean, you're in a couple different leagues, if I'm not mistaken, right? So is this one of the drafts where you had like the most picks this year? Did you do a lot of scouting, or what did that look like for you in comparison to other
Yeah.
leagues?
That's the most picks I've ever had in one draft in any league ever. I mean, that was a pretty crazy
Yeah, it was an insane amount of picks.
collection. Yeah. No, I did basically what I do every year. I didn't do. I was actually kind of busy just personally this year, so I probably did a little less than I usually do, but um, still enough. I hope.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see.
How did it feel to? I mean, how many was it? I mean, Vidal's a rookie too, right? Burton's a rookie. Was it all these guys? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, like 11 of them. Is that everybody?
Something like
I think
that.
it's
I
everybody.
think going in it was 15-ish, but I moved up a couple.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say too. Is you still moved around a bit, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like you stuck in pick or anything like that. Um, what's also fun that I think is worth noting is you created a new meta in terms of how to sign the players. Um, if I'm not mistaken, in the first year of the rookie draft, which was not this most recent one, the one before, everybody signed him to 5 years. And
Hmm.
then you just kind of announced three, and then it turned into a discussion in the league chat, and then three is now what every single person signed them to. I think except for Marvin Harrison Jr. Does that feel kind of cool that you're setting that trend and
Long
created this new
three.
thing, or is that like pressure almost?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. Can you say that one more
Oh
time?
yeah. Just long story short, I mean, you created a new meta, and then
Mhm.
the first rookie draft you've been a part of. Does that feel kind of cool? Is that like it's not scary, right?
Yeah,
Because it's your own tactic, but like people now watching it, it's a copycat league, is what they say in the NFL, right? Um,
yeah.
but what's that? What does that look like? Feel like for you?
Yeah, I guess it's a little flattering. I do. I feel like my start in here has been pretty good so far, so I would understand why um, people may want to angle their teams in similar ways. Yeah, I don't know. I was always just really confused why people were signing people to the longer deals. It didn't make much sense to me at all. Um, so I don't. I feel pretty confident in it. I don't. I'm not so worried that this is going to end up backfiring or look silly.
Right.
I mean, maybe this is new to me, so I could be wrong, but
Yeah, that's
it
one of
seems to
those
be
who knows
pretty
things.
clear.
Um, let's talk about your cap situation. So, I mean, your cap room, you've got minimum money next year.
Yep.
What's interesting is from playing around with the website. I don't know who made this thing. This thing sucks. From playing around with the website, I feel like I see different numbers in different places. Yeah. So on this, I see negative 87, and then on this, I see 98. So maybe I
Oh,
need to figure out what's updating when and how it's updating. But let me just go pull up the actual, like, for sure one. And yeah, it's negative 87. So you're sitting, but then it's negative. Oh, that's because it's projected. Haha. So you're projected
uh,
with the picks that you have to be at negative $87 next year, assuming you don't do anything. In
yep.
reality, it's $98 in the bank. See, look at this website, how great it is. Um, what does that look like for you, especially between these two players, between Burrow and McCaffrey? You're at $607 combined. What is your? Have you started thinking ahead yet, or are you just solely focused on, hey, 1 year at a time? This is my window,
Um,
or a
Kind of a
mixture.
mix. I mean, I certainly would hope that this year is I'm able to be at least pretty competitive, but there is a little bit of an eye towards the future. I think what I should be pretty flexible. So If I have to spend some of the picks that I have this year to like switch out injured players for healthy players, like that'll help the projected cap while still keeping me competitive. And there are just enough picks that I feel confident that I can push them out into the future if I need to, or I think just because the picks are so liquid that I should be pretty flexible. So
Yeah. Only your first round pick, just looking at it again.
compete now, but also keep if something comes up or next off season, I can evaluate and still have a lot of stuff that I can move around pretty easily to get where I want to be.
Yeah, and only your first round pick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 second round picks, a bunch of third round picks, 4 of those, 3 fourth round picks. I mean, how quickly do you think? I mean, your team has a good mix of depth and everything, but also the youth, right? So who knows how rookies do? You know, are they going to have that Puka track? Or are they going to have maybe a Nico Collins track where it takes a little bit of time to get there?
Yep.
How quickly do you think those picks become on the table trying to make moves this season? Is that something that you're leaning towards immediately, maybe halfway through, closer to the trade deadline when things are a lot more clear?
There's not so much a plan about a time. As is, I'm pretty happy. I mean, if someone wants to talk, that's fine. But as is, I would be pretty happy starting the season like it is now. And I think my biggest hole is probably at my second running back. But I would assume that I have 7 guys that are somewhat interesting. I assume at least one of them will emerge. If not, I would probably spend for something like that. But there's no specific plan for them. Who knows what's going to happen, and they're pretty flexible.
Yeah. When it comes to how you're feeling in the league, and then potentially, what the heck is this? When it comes to how you're feeling in the league and potentially the division, do you think where do you kind of see yourself in that playoff picture? Do you see yourself as a playoff team? Do you see yourself as a division winning playoff team or a wild card playoff team? Do you see your team as extra pick bracket team? I'm sure you don't see yourself as the toilet bowl again, but when you think about it, what do you think is realistic, and then what is success to you this coming season?
I think I'm pretty comfortably a playoff team. Within the division, I think it's mostly Rick and Codes that are close, but I think I would.
How dare you?
Slightly prefer my team over them as is. Yeah, I mean, I think I slightly disagree with you on kind of the all-in strategy. I like to be in it enough to be in the playoffs, but kind of preserve that for as long as possible.
Right.
Pretty comfortably a playoff team. And with the playoff structure, like who knows what'll happen.
Right. So you mentioned something fun. I agree with you. I think Codes is probably going back to the playoffs after the second place run last year. Upgraded Josh Allen to the QB2 spot versus what Codes was piecing together before with Hurts. Has some good pieces there. Otherwise, but you mentioned Rick as a potential competitor in the division. Is Rick's team someone that you're on the lookout for, or are they kind of more of a dark horse to you, or do you think they have a legitimate shot at maybe claiming the division title?
Yeah, I think it's certainly a tier behind me and Coates, but I do think, like if you were to put him in the Jamarcus Russell division, I think it's pretty competitive there.
Right.
I'm not super into any of those teams, so I think in there it would probably do pretty well. I think our division's a bit harder, so it's probably third place in this division. Maybe either Codes or I have a bad season, and he bumps one of us.
Right.
But I think it's a good team.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's almost like the I feel like the Jamarcus Russell division has some good teams, and they all have good pieces in there. But it almost feels like it was the what was it? The 2011 like NFC West, where it's like who's the king of shit mountain, I think the Seahawks made the playoffs like 7-9, and
Yeah.
that's when the Beastquake run
Yeah,
happened. Um,
yeah.
like I almost feel like the Jamarcus Russell division's like that, but it's almost like who gives a shit as long as you make the playoffs, right?
It's
Um,
true. Yeah.
and so it would be kind of fun to see this team in that division, to see how it does. But I guess we'll get to see the big shuffle next year with the realignment. So um, while we're in the middle of discussing these teams, is there a team in mind that you have that you think is particularly overrated when you look at it from the surface? And it's tough because all that we really have, as we talked about, all that we really have to go off of is what happened last year and speculation. But is there a team that you could see not holding up to whatever small, quiet hype there is right now until it grows louder as we get really close to the season?
Yeah, you mentioned asking me this question before. It was just the two of us talking, and my answer was going to be the whole Demarcus Russell division. Um, I spoiled it a little early, but what I was going to say was I think Rick's team is probably the best if it's in that division. Um, when I was clicking through the teams earlier, for pretty much the whole Demarcus Russell division, at the top it looks like you first click on their team at the top, it looks pretty good. Like I know Allen has Stroud, Bijan, Kenneth Walker, CD, and then once you get to the bottom of pretty scary people at the bottom end of their
Right.
starting roster even.
Let's pull that up.
uh, and I think like with Allen's team, this is maybe the least true for his team, but even there, um, if there are two injuries, I'm not really sure
What happens
what the
next?
plan is. Limited cap space, no picks.
Yeah, that's when you're plugging Juju Smith-Schuster, who's not even on a team, or the third wide receiver OBJ in Miami, who's currently on the pup list, or Rashad Bateman, who can't figure out what he wants to do into those spots. I think the same holds for Dan Flashes too, right? Like everything looks good, and then the last flex spot is Ben Sinnott, and it's like nothing else there on the bench. Elijah Moore maybe. I think Morgan's the opposite. Morgan's got the depth out the wazoo, but there's nobody that blows your socks off except for maybe the receivers right there. Puka, Devontae, Nico. I'll take that receiving core up against any other one almost. Sorry, Cam, if I'm not mistaken, Cam's the one that obsesses over the receivers. But, Trevor Lawrence and Baker Mayfield is not the most inspiring at quarterback. JJ's out for the year. The running back room, Brian Robinson, Tajee Spears. Dobbins on the bench, Charbonnet on the bench, Corum on the bench. Like, it's underwhelming there.
Those
and
are
then
fun.
yeah.
Yep.
And then projects in that awkward position, where like projects buying pieces to fight already for the extra pick probably at best, but has decent pieces there. I love Gardner Minshew's picture. Can we talk about that for a second? What a man!
Where is it? Oh yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing. But again, not much really going on on their squad either. So, yeah, it is a fun thing to look at. What do you think is the most underrated team?
Where was it? Let me find it. Yeah, it's this one. No, it's Cam's. I think Cam has, in my opinion, pretty clearly the best team. I was plugging this into like those like league ranker things.
Right.
And I know they're not great, but they were shitting on Cameron's team for the quarterbacks. But I'm actually quite into both Kyler and Stafford this year, and I think other than that, it's pretty crazy good. I know Cameron loves Ramondre Stevenson much more than I do. That would be my only problem with it. But even still, he has people that I think are reasonable replacements.
Right, with Pacheco and White and everything. Aaron Jones there. Yeah, there's pieces. So I started Dynasty 2 years ago, like when this league started. Kyler Murray was going off the board QB4, QB5. I don't understand how he's going so far down now. Couldn't you see a world where he shoots back up to like QB3-4 prices after this year? That's just my opinion.
I'm totally with you. I think he's been extremely underpriced for a year, ever since he tore his ACL, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially with bringing in Marvin Harrison. I mean, that's that's gonna help quite a bit. So
Yeah, and McBride continuing to emerge and all that type of stuff too. Yeah, I mean, so in a startup right now, I was talking with some people. And, I think it's Alan Mahomes 1-2. I think there's 3 different possible right answers for 3, 4, 5. But Kyler isn't right there. He's in like that 6 to 12 conversation, and I feel like out of that group, Kyler and Jordan Love, in my opinion, have like the best pathway to go up further. Like it's not a crazy world, in my opinion, that he's QB3 or QB4 after this year. Maybe I'm dead wrong, and he's right where he should be. I mean, but Cam's paying for it. I mean, that's a miserable contract. So that one and Jamar Chase side by side are just scary. So always gonna have some decisions to figure out next year. 287 without the picks even being factored in, but that'll do it for us though. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to talk about? Go over before we flush this toilet?
I don't think so. No.
Cool. All right. Well, short, sweet, to the point. Season starts in 3 weeks from today. Yeah, really looking forward to that. And you mentioned something in the league chat, probably worth mentioning. Make sure, if you guys aren't in here already, half of you are not in here, to the Pick'em League, the battle for 3.13. Chase is here, Unicorn's here, Rick's here, Morgan's here, Flynn is here, I'm here. Was that Code Cam Project Alan? Code Cam Project Alan. Morgan's here. I don't know. I forget. Sorry if I forgot you. Just make sure you join that. I can send the link again if I need to. I think it's just fun because there's a way to get 1.13. There's a way to get 2.13. There's a way to get 4.13. I felt I wanted to figure out something, and so when Sleeper did this, it's just it's easy enough. So, cool. All right. Thanks, Chase, for coming by and talking, and we'll see you guys soon.